Let's look at the support skills for Preview 3, Part B. So in the next preview assignment and in the next class, you will need to be able to use rates and unit rates. So let's talk about rates and unit rates. So a rate is a special ratio in which the two terms are in different units. So we have a definition right there. The rate is a special ratio in which the two terms are in different units. So remember, a ratio can be written in three ways, like I've written up here. So we could think of it as the words 1 to 2, as the fraction 1/2, or as the ratio with that colon in there, which we also read 1 to 2. So when the denominator has a value of 1, it is called a unit rate. So remember, that denominator is the number in the bottom of a fraction. So typically the keyword per is used with a unit rate. So for example, if we're thinking about miles per hour, we could think of it as 60 miles per 1 hour. So an example of a rate is traveling 60 miles in 3 hours. The unit rate is created when the rate is converted, so it has a denominator of 1. So start by expressing the rate in fractional form as 60 miles over 3 hours, which you can see written down here. And then divide to obtain the unit rate of 20 miles per hour. So to get that unit rate, what we divide by is the denominator, that number in the bottom of the fraction. So we divide by 3 both up in the numerator and down in the denominator. And that's where we end up with this 20 miles per 1 hour, the unit rate. So for number 1, they're asking us to rate each of the following rates as a fraction and then convert to a unit rate. Write a contextualized sentence using your unit rate. So if we look at part A, it says a person drove 900 miles in 12 hours. How many miles did they drive each hour? So it does matter which number goes in the numerator up top and which number goes in the denominator, the bottom. We keep it in the order that they gave us the information. So they told us that a person drove 900 miles in 12 hours, and they're asking how many miles did they drive each hour. So the order that they're asking us in is miles and hours. So miles is going to go in the numerator, hours is going to go in the denominator. So that's how I got the rate as 900 miles per 12 hours. To get it into a unit rate, we divide by that denominator. So I divide by 12 and divide by 12, which gives me 75 miles per 1 hour. If I'm trying to write this as a contextualized sentence, I would say that the person was driving 75 miles per hour, which can be abbreviated MPH. If we look at part B, a pie has a total of 4,800 calories and is cut into 8 slices. How many calories are in each slice? So calories comes first, so it's going to be in our numerator. Slice comes second, so it's going to be in our denominator. So from the problem, we have the 4,800 calories and 8 slices. So our unit rate is 4,800 calories over 8 slices. When we want to simplify this or convert it to get it in a unit rate, we divide by that denominator. So I'm going to divide by 8 in both the numerator and denominator, which gets me my unit rate of 600 calories per 1 slice. So if I'm writing it in a contextualized sentence, I say 1 slice of pie has 600 calories. If we look at part C, a satellite radio contract costs $215 for 1 year or 12 months. How much does the contract cost per month, round to the nearest cent? So notice they're saying the cost per month. So the cost is going to go in the numerator, that's the $215, and we need to put the 12 months in the denominator. That 1 year is just there to distract us. They told us they wanted in terms of months, so we're only going to use months in that rate. To get this into a unit rate, I'm going to divide by the denominator. So I'll divide by 12 and divide by 12, which gives me the unit rate of $17.92 per 1 month. And we also said here you could write it with this sideways slash instead and say that it's $17.92 per month. If we're writing it in a contextualized sentence, we'd say that the satellite radio costs $17.92 per month. If we look at part D, a 10-pound bag of cherries costs $33.49. What is the cost per pound? Round to the nearest cent. So they're telling us we want cost per pound. So cost is going to go in the numerator, pound is going to go in the denominator. So that's why we have the $33.49 or $33.49 up in the numerator and the 10 pounds down in the denominator. To get this into a unit rate, I divide by 10, that number in the denominator, which gives me 3.349 over 1 pound. But notice they told us to round to the nearest cent. The nearest cent is the hundredths place, or 2 digits after the decimal point. So the 9 tells me to bump that 4 up to a 5. So our unit rate, that final answer for the unit rate, is $3.35 per 1 pound. To write it in a contextualized sentence, we'd say 1 pound of cherries costs $3.35. If we look at part E, it says on April 25th in northern Michigan, 22 inches of snow fell in 5 hours. How much snow fell per hour? So they're telling us we want snow per hour. So snow is going to go in the numerator, hours in the denominator. So we have 22 inches per 5 hours. To get this in a unit rate, I'm going to divide by 5 in the numerator and denominator. I'm choosing 5 because it's the number that is in the denominator, which gives me 4.4 inches per 1 hour. In a contextualized sentence, we could write that as 4.4 inches of snow fell per hour. So if we look at number 2, they tell us that we can use unit rates to compare prices and find the best values. So find the 2 unit rates for each situation and use them to determine which value is better. Write a sentence justifying your answer. So anytime we're trying to find a unit rate to compare a price, the money is always going to go up in the numerator, and then whatever units its cost is given in, or that thing we're buying is in, such as the weight or how many bars of soap we're getting, or whatever that item number is, that's what goes in the denominator. So if we look at part A, they say that a 20.5 ounce bag of Cheetos costs $4.99, while a 12.5 ounce bag costs $4.29. Determine which of the 2 bags is the best deal. So if I focus in on this first bag, that 20.5 ounce bag of Cheetos costs $4.99. I would put the money, the $4.99, up in the numerator, and that weight, the 20.5 ounces, down in the denominator. To get this into a unit rate, we're going to divide by that denominator. So divide by 20.5. As you can see up in our numerator, that gives us this very long number. It gives us 0.24341426341. So because we're talking about money, I rounded it to the nearest cent. The 3 told me to leave that 4 alone. So I said that the unit rate, or that unit cost, is 24 cents per 1 ounce. If we look at that second bag, a 12.5 ounce bag costs $4.29. I'll do the $4.29 divided by the 12.5 ounces. To get this into a unit rate, I divide by 12.5, which gives me 0.3432 over 1 ounce. I'll round that money to the nearest cent, so the unit rate there is 34 cents per 1 ounce. So now that we have these in terms of that same denominator, we can compare the prices for 1 ounce. So we want which one's a better value. That means which one costs the least amount of money per ounce. So in that case, it's this first one in green. So I'd say that the 20.5 ounce bag is the better value because it costs 10 cents less per ounce than the 12.5 ounce bag. If we look at part B, it says a package of 12 bars of soap is sold for $10, while a package of 5 bars of the same soap is sold for $4. Determine which of the packages is the best deal. So if we focus in on the first part of the sentence, we have the $10 per 12 bars. Then we divide by 12, and we get that 0.83 repeating over 1. So because that 0.83 repeating is money, I'm going to round it to the nearest cent, which tells me that it's about 83 cents per 1 bar. If I look at the second part of the sentence, it says a package of 5 bars of the same soap is sold for $4. So I'd have $4 over 5 bars. To simplify, I divide by 5, which gives me 80 cents per 1 bar. I don't need to round, I actually get that 80 cents. So if I'm thinking about the better value, I look for the one that has the smaller cost per bar, which is that $4 for 5 bars. So you can see my answer here. The 5 bar package is the better deal because it's priced at 80 cents per bar, while the larger package costs 83 cents per bar. If we look at part C, it says a 5-gallon bucket of Behr Premium Plus paint costs $124, while a 1-gallon bucket costs $25.98. Determine which of the containers is the best deal. So if we focus in on that 5-gallon bucket, it's $124 for 5 gallons. To get this into a unit rate, I divide by that denominator 5, which gets me $24.80 per 1 gallon. If we look at the second part of the sentence, it's $25.98 per 1 gallon. So they actually already gave us a unit rate there. So if I'm looking at which one costs less, this green one, that was the 5-gallon, costs less per gallon. So the 5-gallon bucket is the better deal because it's priced lower per gallon than the $25.98 for 1-gallon bucket. So tomorrow we'll be looking at the central limit theorem. And by tomorrow, I mean in our college level class, lesson 3B. So in this lesson, we'll look at average diameters of peas for larger and larger sample sizes. These averages are like unit rates, so the length of the diameter for each pea. For each sample size, there's a different unit rate. So for example, if someone has a bowl of peas and finds the average diameter for a sample of 3 peas, every sample of 3 is going to have a different average. So keep these unit rates in mind when we're talking about that central limit theorem.